Welcome to the FI Investors Podcast, helping you achieve financial independence through real estate investing, one episode at a time. We talk about personal finance, mindset, and real estate investing. Whether you're a rookie or looking to scale your portfolio, we're here to provide you with the tactics and actionable steps to achieve your goals. Here are your hosts, Diego Corzo and Ward Mahoney.
All right, welcome to the FI Investors Podcast. Today, I am going to be the host of the podcast. Ward is not here with me right now. Today, we have a very special guest, Roberto Green. Roberto, he's a great friend of mine. He has flipped multiple properties. He has a portfolio of over 10 rental properties. And today, he's going to be sharing all about his flipping experience, what he did to grow also his portfolio, the different sessions that we had to help him brainstorm on how he could fund deals, how he could grow his rental portfolio. So it's going to be super exciting. He's also going to be talking about the most recent property that he bought in Puerto Rico, the villa, and the $1 million view that it has. So I'm super excited for him to share his story. Started from humble beginnings to now being a super successful flipper. So I am super excited for this podcast. Also, for anybody that has been listening to the podcast, please leave us a rating, a review. It really helps us with the algorithm. We will love to see what you have to talk about, what you have to say about the podcast. Any feedback will be greatly appreciated. And also for anybody that's looking to achieve financial independence, anybody that's looking to get started, we have put together an 6-day email course called 6 Keys to Financial Independence, and you can go to keys2fi.com. That is keys2fi.com. All you need to do is put in your email and you'll be getting amazing content. It's like freaking 25 pages of content that we put together for you, completely free, so that you can take action in achieving financial independence. And without further ado, let's get to Roberto. What is up, Roberto? How are you today? Welcome to the FI Investors Podcast.
Awesome, Diego. Happy to be on board. Thank you for having me.
Of course, dude. I know a lot of your journey. You have an incredible story from starting from humble beginnings. I got to meet you in Puerto Rico back in October of 2021 with Paul and Janita. We were over there. You guys were giving me a tour of Puerto Rico. We connected and then we became friends right away, especially because of the real estate, all of the real estate conversations that we had. And dude, it's been a journey, and discussing all of your real estate goals that you've had and seeing you taking action has been super inspiring. And I know that this is definitely going to be super helpful for the audience to learn about your story, see how you're investing, how you've grown your portfolio, how you're flipping properties too, and also your recent purchase in Puerto Rico. So we're going to talk all about that. This is going to be an amazing podcast episode. So Roberto, thank you very much for being here. I want to get started with how you got started back in the day, a little bit of your story, just to give the audience a bit of the background and go from there.
Awesome, Diego. Thank you. So I won't go too deep into my life, but I'll give you guys like different highlights, right? So I always start my story with I became a father at a very young age. So at the age of 20, I became a father. I had my son. By the age of 21, I was married with a child. So you can imagine at 20, when most kids are partying, going to college, I actually had to drop out of college. I worked 3 jobs. I worked at a supermarket, a retail store, and I was delivering newspapers with Paul, actually. And that's how we connected through a program. So I started my journey there. It was very difficult. I had to move my family to my mother's house. So there was a lot that I was going through mentally because I wanted to become a provider. But I was always looking for ways. I was always ambitious, go-getter, hustler. And the fact that, I had a son, it just made me want to become a better provider for my family. So what I ended up doing was I ended up working at State Street Bank. I got that through a program that I did called Year Up, which is a program here in the city of Boston and around the US, basically helping inner city students to build a career from high school through college. It's like that career gap that there is. So I took a 1 year intensive training program in FinOps, and they put me in an internship program at State Street Bank, which is a large bank here in the US. So I ended up working there. I was a bilingual client service specialist, so I worked with their Latin American clients. Mind you, my Spanish was horrible at the time. So you can only imagine, like, I was really, really struggling to just speak to the clients, but I made it happen. You know, I had my Spanish English dictionary and I made it work. And that's one thing about me. You give me something, I'm going to make it happen no matter what. So I was very ambitious. That ambition actually got me to the next level really quickly within the bank. So I actually got promoted after a year and a half to asset management. And then a year and a half after that, I got promoted again to wealth management. Now, corporate was a new experience for me, and it was very scary and challenging in the beginning because I didn't have a college degree. So I always felt inferior to everybody, but I always was looking for ways to learn, get educated, take advantage of all the trainings that they had. I spoke to all the vice presidents in the company. I wasn't afraid to speak to people. And that's what really helped grow my career. And then eventually I transitioned into JP Morgan, where I became a compliance service officer for 2 years. Now, that was like my beginnings as far as like where I started and how I got into corporate. I did end up going cold turkey. I was investing into cryptocurrency back in 2017. So I got in at a great time, and I turned an investment of $5,000 into $50,000. So that investment alone helped me really build a little cushion that I needed to give me what I needed to basically leave my job and start a new venture. So I ended up getting into the restaurant business, which is a whole separate segment. But in regards to real estate, one thing that I did do was I liquidated my 401k. I took out 50% of my 401k, and I was able to use that to purchase my first property in Massachusetts, which was a duplex. I did end up house hacking it after 1 year using an FHA loan. You are able to rent it out. So I lived in it for 1 year. And then just rented out both after that period went away. And then that's when I learned how to become a landlord. And that was a whole experience because Massachusetts is a tenant-friendly state. So it's really tough to evict tenants here. It can take anywhere between 3 to 6 months. But I'll leave it at that for now because that's where my real estate kind of journey starts. So let me know how you want me to take it.
Yeah, no, and dude, it's really interesting that you were able, like, starting out right at the age of 20 with a kid and then making that decision of, you know what, like, I'm gonna go into corporate America. I know that a lot of people may have felt similar of how you have felt a little bit when you begin to compare others, being like, hey, I don't have a degree, but my coworkers do have it. But you didn't let that stop you. And that's one thing that's really important, because other people would have been, oh, I am not enough, and I don't think that I belong here. But of course, you have excelled in so many different ways. So kudos to you on that end. And then number two, so you were able to buy your first property as a house hack. Did you learn that from anybody, or did you just see the opportunity? Because a lot of people don't really think about it that way. But I don't know if you just were like, why can other tenants pay me? I have my family, and go from there.
So when I was in the program, the Year Up program, they exposed me to a lot of self-help books and really financial literacy, right? This is something that I didn't learn in school, but this program taught me. And one of the books that I read was The Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which is infamous. And that's what really got my brain kind of thinking outside the box, because I had an idea of what real estate was, but I I knew it very so surface level. I didn't know how deep it went until now that even now I'm learning a lot more and how deeper you can go. But that's what really got me into like, okay, how can I start investing? How can I start building wealth? These were all new terms for me.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, it was basically taking that and then taking action. One of my good friends at the time, he actually told me, hey, you can use your 401k as a down payment and you don't have to pay any penalties. He's like, do you have a 401k? I'm like, oh yeah, I do. I've been doing that since I started back in 2010 at the time. So
Mm-hmm.
fast forward to 2016, 2017, I had saved up over $25,000. So I was able to use, I think it was like $13,000, and I used that as a down payment. And then I used some of the crypto money that I had earned to kind of help me do some minor remodeling, renovations, buy furniture and things of that nature. But that's
Mm-hmm.
what really got me into like starting off and learning how to become a landlord and learning more about investing.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's really cool. And for the audience here, that may not know 100%. So house hacking is where you buy a duplex, triplex, or quadplex. You can live on one side, rent out the others, and you can do it with an FHA loan, which is 3.5% down. You can also do the same thing with a house, live in the master, and rent out the other rooms. And the cool part is that you have tenants that are paying down your mortgage. And that gives you an opportunity to, number one, get experience right away, which is what you did, Roberto, in and being able to see, okay, do I like being a landlord? Do I not like being a landlord? Do I like real estate or not really? But at the end of the day, it gets you to buy an asset. And it was really cool that you took advantage of the 401k, because at the end of the day, not many people know that you can liquidate part of your 401k, or you can also get a loan from your 401k and be able to use that to buy a property. So it's really cool that you were able to do that with 3.5% down. And so that got you started to your first one. What happened next in your real estate journey?
Oh man, so I went into the restaurant industry, and one of my customers had a shirt that said "I buy houses cash." So
Mm.
obviously, me being me, I asked him, I'm like, "Oh, you're a millionaire or something? Like, how does this work? Like, you just buy houses cash?" He gave me like a holistic overview of what he does, and it caught my attention. So he told me he had a coaching program, and it was like $8,000, but I ended up taking the course because I thought it was a very interesting and I wanted to learn more about real estate. So the mentor basically taught me more about investing and flipping and how that whole process works, how you use hard money lenders, private investors, so that you're not out of pocket completely and you're leveraging other people's money to basically take on your own projects and buy houses, add value to them, and then sell them for a profit. So when I
Mhm.
understood that concept, that's when I was like, okay, this is the next thing I want to get into. This is going to be a game changer. Prior to that, I did get into private lending. Private lending was just me lending out money that I earned from the crypto and earning interest. It was a learning experience. I don't recommend anybody to do it unless they have a real estate attorney. Look at the contracts, because I did almost lose a lot of money because for many reasons, I didn't protect my money. And I always tell people to do four things if they're ever thinking about doing a private lending. One is to get a promissory note and have a real estate attorney review the promissory note. To get a personal guarantee. They want to get a personal guarantee directly from the individual that they are lending the money to. They also want to have become a beneficiary under the insurance. And if they're possible, depending on how much money you put, but to get a first or second mortgage on the property. These are just liens that basically collateralize your investment so that the investor cannot sell the property unless they have your consent. So it gives you control. So I never invest into real estate unless I have at least 3 to 4 of those things to protect my best interest in a deal. So that's very important. And that's what I got into when I made the money with cryptocurrency. I became a private lender.
Mhm.
But I did have good deals after that. where I worked with other investors that they were doing fix and flips, and I did earn, good interest on my money just by lending it out. So I did that. And then when I got into flipping, I basically just learned the whole process from start to finish, how to find a deal, how to fund a deal, how to fix it, and how to flip it. Four very important different tactics that you want to learn so that you get a holistic view, a full view of what you're going to be doing, because a lot of flippers get burnt because they either don't know what they're doing, or they don't have the right partners, or they just overpay for the property, or they underestimate their construction costs. There's a lot of that goes on. There's a lot of programs that, try to sell you on, oh, fix and flip. It's easy. It's, everybody wants to hear the word easy, and it can be done quickly, make money fast. These are just words that catch your attention. That's why they say it. But by no means is real estate investing easy. There are systems that can help you do it the right way, yes, but it will never be easy. And even with those systems, you're always going to have challenges. The key is to have a mindset of, I'm a problem solver, and have a problem solving mindset. Because once the challenges come, you're going to have to figure out how to overcome them as they come, regardless of the systems that you have in place. So it's very important. So learning how to flip for me was huge. I wanted to learn first what to do, and then of course taking action, because you can learn, read all the books that's available, listen to all these podcasts, but again and again I tell people, you can learn and learn and learn, but if you don't take action, you're not going to get anywhere with what you're learning. So don't be afraid. You're only afraid because you don't have the confidence or the education to move you, because once you learn the game, or once you learn what you need to learn, there's really no reason for you not to continue, because there's so much potential that you can make and so much that you can earn. So it's really important that you actually take action on those steps and partner with the right people, or have the right mentorship, so that you guys can actually learn and do things on your own and eventually build your own business. I always recommend starting out, do a joint venture, work with somebody who has money, or work with somebody who has the experience. Never work with somebody who doesn't have any experience, because you're just going to be two people that are going to lose and are going to not make any money or struggle more than you need to, because one does not have the other, and you guys are going to split nothing at the end of the day. So be very careful with who you partner with as well. But the whole flipping, that was just something that I learned, and then I got into flipping, and then I started doing flipping on my own.
Yeah. And so dude, you gave a lot of great content here, especially the 4 different parts, right, of the flipping. You mentioned you find the deal, you fund the deal, fix it, and then you sell it, right? Flip it. Yeah. So the 4 different F's to a flip, to a successful flip. So one of the things, so in the beginning, you mentioned the importance of partnering with somebody, right? And one of the things that I call it your unfair advantage, similar to what you're saying. You have your experience, the money, the time, the knowledge, the network, all of that stuff. There's different parts, but you want to make sure that when you partner with somebody, you complement each other. That is really important. So then, in working with your first couple of JVs, or when you went out on your own, how was that process? How did you find the deal and fund the deal, let's say?
So the first deal that I found was through a real estate agent who had an off-market property. So a lot of the deals that you're finding when it comes to flipping houses, you typically want them to be off-market. Now, it's important to keep in mind, when they come through a wholesaler, the wholesaler is going to charge a fee. Sometimes that fee or the price point may be more than you should be paying. So you want to make sure that you're getting a good purchase price, even with the fee included, right? Mm-hmm. So the deal is in the purchase price. If you overpay for that property, you're going to lose immediately. As soon as you sign those documents, forget about it. It's a lost deal because you overpaid for that deal. So the real estate agent had an off-market property with a wholesaler that she connected with, but the numbers did make sense for me. And there's different ways for the deal to make sense. Either whether you're keeping construction costs low, so you're either joint venture with a general contractor, as an example, and they keep the cost low, or you're just adding value to the home. So you're forcing appreciation. So like for an example, what I mean by that is if you have a single family home, you're either adding square footage, adding bathrooms, or adding bedrooms to increase the value. So to me, it was a value add home. So this property that I had was a 2-family. We converted it back to a 1-family because in that market, it made sense. So it was a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom. We converted it to a 5-bedroom, 3.5-bathroom, including a master suite.
Wow.
So that was the play on it. And the way I kind of joint ventured it was I had my mentor who was also a real estate agent. He was helping me through the process. He kind of held my hand in a way, but I would let him sell the house once it's done. So then he would earn the commission and he would get paid from that check.
Okay.
And that's how me and him worked it out.
And so you were the one that brought that. What was your position on that first flip?
I found the deal. I got the funding for the deal. I got the hard money lender. Granted, it was through his network. And I got the private investors as well. And I was basically the project manager or GC for the whole, well, project manager, I would say, for the entire project. So I managed the whole project. I designed it as well. I came up with the designs, but he was more like mentoring, like guiding me through the process. Like, hey, we should convert this to a 5. We should add another bedroom. Let's add value to this home and let's keep it. Long story short, it did go over budget, but it was during COVID, but it was a huge learning experience. I was able to be profitable, which is a huge win. And to my benefit, the prices of the homes also appreciated. So when we originally ran the numbers for the home, we expected to sell it for $650 based off comps. Once it was done that following year, because it took 12 months, comps were selling well over $700, $750. So we ended up selling it for $775. So we bought it for $320. We invested about $225,000. The reason being was because it was a full gut renovation. That's another thing I don't recommend first time flippers to do a full gut renovation because it's a lot. If they can do cosmetic work, just painting, redoing the kitchens, redoing the bathrooms, it's easier. But I feel like I got the full experience, and I got the experience in the big leagues because Massachusetts is big on inspections. So things that can pass in other states like Midwest or maybe down south will not pass here. So for an example, I had a kitchen cabinet that was 17.5 inches from the stove. By code in Massachusetts, it has to be 18 inches above the stove. So when the inspector went, he literally took a measuring tape and measured it, and it was like, this needs to be lifted up 1/2 inch. It was that strict.
Wow.
So when I tell you I've been through really, really intense inspectors, I've been through it, and it's insane. Like they really need you to be up to code here. And it depends, because you can have good experience with an inspector and a bad experience. Some are going to give you easy time, some are going to give you a hard time. For some reason, mine had to give me hard times. So there was a lot of things that I had to deal with, but it was a great learning experience regardless. Because I just got the full circle. Like the next level for me is going to be new development. And that's just starting from scratch, because that home was literally to the bones that I started it, and I built it with love and passion.
No, and that sounds, I mean, being involved with a flip for a year, it's definitely commitment. It's a lot of carrying costs too that a lot of people may not take into consideration, right? Because you're paying interest, or at least you're getting interest, whether you pay it monthly, quarterly, or at the end, you're accruing interest. And also what people sometimes don't put into their numbers is utilities, insurance that can add up if they're not careful. So it's really important to run your numbers the right way, to make sure that there's no surprises. Were there any other surprises that came up either during the inspections, or maybe something that that you had got in one bid but it was way more?
Yeah, there was a whole bunch. There was a whole bunch. That honestly was full of surprises. I even at one point the here in Massachusetts it gets very cold, and we hit
Mhm.
negative degrees. The pipes ended up bursting when I first bought it, so like literally
Oh
the whole first
man.
floor was flooded. But I literally had to do everything brand new. It was like from the studs,
Wow.
the framing, like literally what was crazy was during COVID, the price of lumber had inflated so much. It was like $2 to $3 for like a 2x4. Each one ended up being like $9 to $10, just for a
Wow.
2x4. So you can imagine my budget inflated. I personally feel like I got very lucky because of the price homes. The price of homes also increased.
Hmm.
But it was definitely like one of those experiences that I don't regret. I learned a lot. I would do a lot of things different
Hmm.
moving forward, and I would have done it a lot faster.
Hmm.
But because it took me 12 months, I did pay a lot of holding costs, and that ate into my profits. Had I gotten it done in like the 8 months that I would have profited more. But there was a lot of things that I didn't know that ended up delaying the time, especially during the beginning with the demolition.
Yeah.
The demolition contractors didn't pull permits on time, so I was waiting for them like weeks, and I lost almost a month and a half just waiting for them to realize that they didn't even request permits from the city department. So
Oh wow.
yeah,
Okay.
definitely a learning experience. But I always recommend
Yeah.
work with licensed contractors at all times.
Yes.
Like it's key, and that's
Yes.
really gonna save you headaches.
As that's one of the things that for real estate investors, whether they're flipping or doing a couple of renovations before they're putting the home on the market, just updating maybe a kitchen. Um, what has been your experience like? What's been the lessons learned and tips that people should do, that investors or flippers should do when either working to find a general contractor or finding subcontractors? Because I know contractors is one of the hardest things to deal with. And yeah, what will be some tips that you will give?
Yeah, I mean, contractors are tough. I mean, the first one you want to make sure that they are highly recommended or highly referred. You also want to make sure that they are licensed and insured. Those are major. I will not look at any contractor unless they have that. Um, I typically scout my contractors of people that are already working. So, like, if I go and I'm driving and I see like a painter, or if I see a roofer, or if I see a house being worked on, I'll take a photo of the company car or the shirts, because I know
Mhm.
that they're active, they're busy, and then I'll look up their website and I'll see if they have any bad reviews or good reviews. So typically I'll look for like at least solid 5-star reviews and see and make sure that they have a good track record, because that'll decrease the chances of somebody, committing fraud or doing
Mhm.
bad work or not being licensed, because you never want to go with the cheapest. You want to go with somebody who's in the middle or even pay the premium, because when you go too cheap, it'll cost you almost double. And that's something that either you learn by me telling you or you're going to learn on your own the hard way. So be
Yeah.
very careful. It sounds good and lucrative in the beginning, but it will bite you in the long run if you're not cautious.
Yeah, and how do you pay your contractors, or what has worked well for you? Because I know you flipped in Massachusetts, but I believe you also flipped in Ohio. So what do you think has worked best when paying contractors?
Yeah, so I always do a payment schedule, and I'm always upfront with them and make sure that we are on point with everything. You need to have clear communication, and you need to have everything documented with your contractors. So there's never any gray area like, oh, you were supposed to pay me for this, or you're supposed to pay me for that, or that wasn't included.
Hmm.
I'm very straightforward. They give me the scope of work. I'll give them the scope of work, what needs to be done. They'll break everything down, either labor and materials or just labor. And then based off that, I will never pay more than 50% deposit. I try to always pay at least 33%,
Okay.
um, and pay and do payments in threes. Or if I do pay at 50%, then I'll do 50%, then 25 and 25. The way I do it is I'll do a deposit. They'll do their work. They'll get the rough inspection.
Hmm.
Once they do the rough inspection and they pass, I'll pay them their other 25%.
Okay.
Then once they do the final inspection and they pass 100%, by the building inspector or the inspector for that particular mechanical, then I'll pay them the final payment and I'll have them sign a final lien waiver. So I'm gonna repeat that. Sign a final lien waiver. What is that? It's a document that you can have and request from a real estate attorney, or you can find online. But it basically states that you paid your contractor in full. So if for any reason they say that you didn't pay them or that you didn't pay them in full, because you have that final lien waiver signed by them, it basically protects you from them putting any liens on the property. Liens on the property is when they basically state that you didn't pay them, and then you cannot sell that house unless that lien is taken care of in court or paid off in full. So that's a way to protect you and the home so that you don't have any delays on selling the home when it comes time to sell. And then never pay more than 50%. Never pay full. Let me start with that. Never pay full price in as a deposit. The minute somebody's like, no, you need to pay me 100%, and then I'll work on it, and I'll work on it this week. No, never do that. That's a red flag, because they can take your money and run. And it's happened, especially out of states and in different areas. Like you always pay no more than 50%. Try to pay 33%, and then that's how you start working. But always have a payment schedule in place.
Yeah, that's really good, especially what you said in the beginning of how you find contractors. That's really creative, being able to go to some of the sites already, or even one of the things too that has worked with me in the past is going to Home Depot at like 6 a.m.
Yep.
People that are out there hustling, working bright and early, those are the ones that are out there hustling. So that's really good. And then of course the payment schedule. That's something that is important, so that they don't run away with your money. You also have a way to check their work, and if they do mess up, it's like, I'm not going to pay you until you correct the work or you do it right.
Correct. You want leverage at all times.
Yeah. So how has it been? Because I know you live in Boston. How has it been managing your projects in Ohio since you're out of state? Because a lot of people might say, I cannot flip if I am if I'm not there, if I'm not the boots on the ground or whatever. How has that worked for you?
Yeah, I mean, there's always challenges with anything. I'm not gonna say that everything's going perfect and whatnot. There's always challenges, right? But you want to have somebody that you can trust and somebody that can be your eyes. So you want to have those boots on the ground. So building a relationship with either handyman or general contractor or even a property management company that's investor friendly is going to be key in investing out of state. Ohio, I always say I've only been there twice. One was to go build my team, and then two was to basically get the property managers when I closed on 6 units and got me to 11 properties. So I don't tell people that I'm always flying out there. I mean, you can if you want to, but I don't have the time or the need to. I built out my team there, and they're the ones managing everything out there. When you have the property managers, a little bit easier. If you have a good property manager, let me clear that. If you have a good property manager that's taking care of your property, managing the tenants the way it's supposed to, managing the maintenance orders, that's key. But before I buy any of the properties out there, I always have a trusted general contractor go review the property and see what needs to be fixed with the house. So me, I try not to spend more than 15 to 20 grand on the property, because we're finding houses for like cheap, like 20, 30, 40,000. But I don't want those houses that need like a full gut renovation, because that's not something that I'm willing to deal with. However, I am willing to deal with like cosmetic, if I got to do the bathroom, the kitchen, minor maintenance work. That to me is fine, because it's within the budget and it keeps my numbers to make sense for the cash flow that I'm looking to get from that particular home. Yeah. So it's very important to look, but you want to always look at the main high ticket items, which are like the foundations, the roof, the heating system, the plumbing, and the electrical. All the mechanical systems, you really want to make sure that those are in solid condition or have been fixed or are fairly new, because if not, that's what's going to cost you money in the long term. So you want to make sure that those high ticket items are in good condition so that you're not coming thousands of dollars out of pocket for your property.
Yeah, yeah, and especially with like those high ticket items, at least be aware that
Yeah.
that you have a budget for them if you know that you're gonna need to replace them, right?
Yeah.
If the AC is 20 years old, be like, okay, I'm just gonna put a new one in. So yeah. So and then Roberto, you mentioned too that you've been finding properties for 30, $40,000 to flip. How have you been finding those deals? Because a lot of people would say I cannot find deals that cheap.
Yes, so it all depends on the market that you're looking for. Obviously, in Massachusetts, you're not going to find not even a garage for 20, 30 grand.
For real.
But so basically, I have either boots on the ground, other real estate agents, or I'll have wholesalers coming out to me that I've connected with that are basically bringing me deals. So I'll give them like a buy box, the buy box being like specific zip codes and specs on the house. Like, hey, I'm looking for a single family in 02131, or I'm looking for multi units in 02136. So that's basically, I'll give them my buy box, my buying criterias. And if they find them, locate them, then they'll send them my way. I'll review them, we'll underwrite them. And if it makes sense for us, we'll get the funding for the property and make it happen. So we'll close on the deal. But
Okay.
that's how we're doing it. We're real estate agents, boots on the grounds, other wholesalers, or even property managers will come across other deals as well.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Cool. And one thing that I do want to talk about that you mentioned earlier, because you have now around 10 properties, or more actually. Um, I know that back in, what was it, like 2021, you and I had a Zoom call, and you told me, Diego, my goal is to buy 10 properties in 1 year. And I was like, all right, it's totally doable. We just have to work backwards. So we analyzed the market, the deals, how you will get funding. Can you share a little bit on how you've been able to grow your portfolio to 10 properties in Ohio? And then, of course, later we're going to talk about how you're investing now in Puerto Rico.
Yep. So the first four properties, I actually have a partner that I connected with through Instagram. We had a connection because we both had Dominican restaurants. So we just hit it off from there, and we just built a solid relationship to the point where we're like, hey, we should invest in other things. I was talking to him about real estate because I had met you as well, and I wanted to, venture off into restaurant business, because one thing I did learn was that you want to build a cash cow business, whatever it is, a business or a W-2, and then take that funding and then invest it into real estate. That's the tactic that we've learned that millionaires do, and that's how they build their wealth. So he was basically on board with that. So we ended up buying 4 of the properties cash. This was cash that we had from the restaurants saved up, and we bought them like at 20. I think it was at the time 20,000 a piece for the homes, and we invested probably like 15 to 20 grand in renovations. So we were all in, trying to keep it under 40, 50 grand to be all in on these 4 homes. And that's how we got started with the 4 properties. When it came to the 6 properties, it was actually our contractor who has a whole bunch of properties that he bought even cheaper. It was like, he told me his cheapest house was $50. So I was like this guy, like he really just went all in and just bought properties. Like he would renovate them themselves. But he would find like deals that were like $5,000 or less. Like he would buy them from the city. A lot of them were like delinquent or had tax liens on them, and he was just buying them. But you fast forward, he ended up wanting to sell us 10. So we were supposed to buy originally 10. What happened is that banks don't want to lend on properties that are worth under 50,000. So 4 of the properties that got appraised did not appraise over 50. They were worth like 30, 40 grand. So we were not able to put it into the blanket loan. So a blanket loan has different terms, also like a portfolio loan. And that's basically when you group up houses together and put them all under one loan and have one mortgage instead of having 6 different loans and 6 different mortgages. That's how that worked. So we appraised the properties, and they appraised for, I think, about $350,000. We negotiated the deal with the seller to 275,000 for all 6. So there was a little gap there. That gap, we were able to do what's called a second home loan, a second lien. So the owner put a second lien on the property, but we were able to use that as a down towards $80,000 down payment, because out of that 340, we had to put about 20% down, plus closing costs. It came up to like 80 grand. So we took that 50 grand, and he was able to put it towards the down payment of what we were supposed to put down for the 20. So me and my partner only had to come up with 35,000.
Wow.
So between me and him, we split that. It was like about 16 to 17 grand that we put in, both of us, give or take. And we were able to close on that deal. It did take a long time. It took months to get the appraisals. It took months to go through the financing and everything. But we were very, very persistent. And we were just looking for any ways to make it work. And we made it happen because we were persistent, and we found the right lender. And we just found somebody that was willing to work with us. So that really helped us like build that portfolio, and really understand like Ohio. So now like we won't buy properties that will appreciate for under 50 grand, because we know that it's going to be hard to do like a cash out refi, or even put a blanket loan on them. So we also want to make sure that we don't buy properties that have like an ARV of under 50. So we buy properties that can be worth 50 plus.
Dang. Okay. Dude, you've done a lot. I mean, from everything. And I remember telling you about the blanket loan opportunity, because you were saying, how can we get all this financing? I'm like, you're going to have to get creative on this, because it's totally doable. And then you just took the creativity even to the other level with getting even the seller to carry a second lien, so that you could buy properties with freaking, you said like $17,000. I mean, between you plus your partner each, but buying a portfolio of 6 properties. That's awesome.
It was insane, man. And it's thanks to you, because you like, honestly, like it's the education aspect, right? Like I would have never done the deal because I didn't know anything about blanket loans. I didn't know anything about second liens, and like, now I'm learning about seller financing. But it's like, because I'm involved in these masterminds, like the FI investors, for an example, and I'm connecting with people that have the education, now I feel more and more confident each deal. And you see opportunities that other people may not see because they don't have the experience or the education on how to actually do it. So to me, that's, to your point, like you need to be surrounded with people that are smarter than you. You need to ask the right questions and take action.
Yes. And don't be afraid of sharing what your goals are, right? Because if you wouldn't have told me, if you thought that the only limit for you was 2 properties or maybe 3 in 1 year, you would have gotten that answer, right? But because you told me I want to buy 10, or like I want to get my portfolio to 10, how do I do it? Then we asked about the market, and we basically did like a hot seat session, and was able to plan it out and talked about the right strategies and get creative with the blanket loan and all of that stuff. So that's awesome. Now, in talking now, switching markets, I know that one of your latest deals is the house in Puerto Rico, the villa. Dude, whenever we went to Puerto Rico, well, whenever I met you, that was the first time I ever went to Puerto Rico in 2021, and I fell in love with the island. It was freaking amazing. We toured, we went to the beach, salsa dancing, everything. But one of the main things was talking about real estate too. There was opportunity there, and I just bought my dream condo there. You've bought your villa there, of course, with partners too. But yeah, tell us a little bit about that deal, how you found it, and how you funded it too.
So Puerto Rico is an interesting market. It's not as advanced online as it is in the United States. So like to have MLS and whatnot, and then wholesalers are really looked down upon out there. So it's more like direct to owner. So I actually found the listing on Craigslist, and through Craigslist was when I initiated the conversation with the homeowner. Originally, he wanted $350,000 for the property, but after the due diligence and really analyzing that property, it didn't appraise for that. It actually appraised for only 180,000 in the condition that it was in with the bank. So my original play on that was to try to get a second home loan, and then try to put 10% down. But even at the negotiated price of 275 with the homeowner, the bank still found it too expensive compared to the appraisal report that we had on the deal. So the bank didn't fund it. So in Puerto Rico, cash is king. And again, like when you have a problem, you look for the solution. And again, I'm very persistent. When I want something or set my mind to something, I get it. And you need to have that mentality with everything, bro. So it took me over a year to really put this deal together. And with your help, obviously, like you really got my mind thinking like, okay, well, if I can't buy it through the bank, how can I raise the capital to do this? And how can I put this deal together? And I remember having these phone calls with you, kind of guiding me through the whole process of how to either raise private capital or private equity. And then when I first pitched the deal, I was looking just to get private lenders and pay them an interest. But then we found out that, hey, people actually are interested in Puerto Rico and they want to be equity partners. So then we put the deal together as far as like equity goes. So I basically calculated the renegotiated price. I got it down to 200,000 for the property. Mind you, the property, just to give some back end on what the property looks like, is beautiful, right? To keep it
Yeah.
simple. It's a beautiful villa, and it's in Carolina, which is 20 minutes away from the airport. But it's $1 million view in my opinion. And when you go there, it's like in the mountains, but when you look out in the horizon, like you literally see the ocean, you see the city, you see the mountains. You can see 5 different cities of Puerto Rico just from that one location. And what sold it to me was not only the view, but the land. It came on 2 acres of land. And when I started analyzing, Paul actually helped me a lot on this. And I have to thank him for that. He put the Price Labs numbers together. We was like, okay, does it make sense? Because I didn't want to be emotionally tied to this property because I felt like I was. Like I fell in love. And it was like love at first sight, right? But I made sure that the numbers made sense above all, right? Because you can fall in love with a property, but if the numbers don't make sense, you cannot make an emotional decision. It always has to be logical when it comes to real estate, especially. And to bring investors, you really had to make sure that your numbers were on point. So when we ran our numbers, like conservatively, not even aggressively, we're looking at almost $450 per night, even at 65% occupancy. You're looking at anywhere between $6,000 to $10,000 a month on the property via Airbnb. And to me, those numbers are very realistic because you're gonna get like a small bedroom in San Juan, for an example, for like $300, $400, $500 a night. So imagine a whole 7-bedroom, 2-bathroom villa with a pool, an acre of land, and that amazing view for only $450 a night. I don't even think it's gonna stay at $450 a night, but we're gonna test it out when we start it. And then through your mastermind, I also got the general contractor, Javier, who's an amazing individual has experience with Airbnbs, has experience with general contracting, flipping, and doing renovations. He's been a key member in this whole renovation process. And putting this deal together, I felt so confident with him, and he's done such an amazing job, and he's moving really fast. So when we put the deal together, got the equity partners, I even had the equity partners reach out to you just to validate, my credibility. Shout out to Eddie Ramos, who's an amazing partner. but he had to, obviously make sure that I was legit, that I wasn't just this random guy from your mastermind and just coming up with numbers. Like you gave me that credibility, and I thank you for that.
Mhm.
But I'm so confident in this deal. Like I'm just gonna make it work. And there's so many different exit strategies in case something goes wrong. There's so many different ways to generate revenue. There's value add with the land so that we can even make more money after that home is stabilized and rehabbed. I'm just so confident in that deal. And like we raised over $250,000 for the deal, and we're making it happen. We're almost done with renovations. It's gonna take another month or two, but dude, like I can't even like I'm gonna timestamp this. Like it's
Yeah.
it, it's such an amazing. It's gonna be such an amazing Airbnb. Like if I don't get Bad Bunny or somebody famous there, like I'm telling you, like I have visions for this property, man. Like
Yeah.
I wanted to go viral on social media.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. And it will. It will. Because Javier is doing an amazing job. The view is amazing. And dude, and we saw it while we were at the mastermind in Puerto Rico, and then we were just there. We also recorded some content. The pool is freaking amazing. Like it's just everything. So I'm super excited for you, and huge shout out to for you to take action. Because you're living in Boston. In the cold, right? No, but for sure, but for sure, being able to invest in other cities and having that trust, right? That's why trusted partners is so important, especially your boots on the ground. So shout out to Javier for that. And dude, so I'm very excited for you. Thank you so much for sharing all of this. You've dropped so much knowledge. And I also have to thank you too, because I remember we were in Puerto Rico. We were on a run, and it was you and Paul and I, and we were running, and I mentioned, dude, one day I'm gonna do a mastermind in Puerto Rico. I don't know how. And you told me, you guys were like, we know that you're gonna do it. You're gonna figure it out. You're gonna figure out when. And I think like 4 months later, we were there in Puerto Rico with everybody. So it was amazing. And so huge shout out to you as well for believing in that idea, what started as a conversation, put it into fruition with everything. So super excited about that. And you're half Puerto Rican, right? Too, or yeah,
Yeah, I'm
yeah,
Puerto Rican and Guatemalan.
yeah.
When people see me, they think I'm Dominican or Arabic. So, but I'm Puerto Rican, I swear.
Yeah, so half Puerto Rican. So that's awesome. Investing there in your roots. So that's cool. And well, dude, I know that you have given, as I mentioned, a lot of knowledge. You are also a flipping coach. So where can people reach out to you if if they have questions, right, on flipping, on buying properties, maybe in raising capital in the future? But where can people reach out to you and learn?
Yeah, I'm very accessible. All my information you can find on Instagram at Roberto Green Jr. and at Home Cash Buyers. But I'm more active on at Roberto Green Jr. because I'm trying to build a personal brand. But I do mentoring. I do have a course on how to flip houses from start to finish, where people can learn how to find the deal, fund the deal, fix the deal, and then flip the deal. I do interviews. I actually have an interview with you
Yeah.
as well, but I have interviews with general contractors, other flippers, other investors, architects, real estate agents, basically individuals that are going to be key components to your team. I interview them so that my students can have an understanding of what it is realistically on how to flip houses. I always say, I even start the videos with it's not simple, it's not easy, it's not like a quick get quick money scheme. But if you really want to make good income, there's a lot of potential with real estate investing. I've seen six-figure checks just with real estate alone. And that's what really solidified me creating this course and my own mentoring program where people can get one-on-one mentorship with me. And we basically do Zoom calls, one-on-ones, just basically teaching them everything they need to learn on how to flip houses, even if they just want to wholesale, how to make money through wholesaling. they can go through my website, which is homecashbuyersacademy.com. Again, it's homecashbuyersacademy.com, and they can access the course or they can access the one-on-one mentorship. But I'm always available for like a one-on-one call if they have more questions, they want to get to know me. I'm very open. But my thing is take action, because they're gonna listen to your podcast, they're gonna listen to other podcasts. Like, I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing, it sounds great. But like, if you don't take action and actually call me, actually go to my website, actually reach out to me. Like me and you, for example, we're full of so much knowledge and information, but people are so afraid to reach out. And it bothers me, because they need to take that leap of faith and really venture out, because look how much they're going to learn. So to me, I'm here I do the same thing you do. I'm here to help people. I want to see people grow. I want to teach people what I've learned, because I want to see people grow and succeed in real estate and just in their lives alone. So very accessible.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. And you've been part of FI Investors too, and you've taken action on everything. That's one of the cool parts, and that's why I wanted you to share the story, because it's super inspirational. Because other people would have not taken action based on the situation that they're in, or created excuses, right? But you did not. So, Roberto, thank you very much for your time today. I am super excited that we're able to share your story. I know it's going to inspire a lot of people. A lot of people are going to be wanting to flip, right? But the main thing is taking action. So thank you for your time, and I look forward to seeing you in Puerto Rico at some point. I know that you're also going to be coming to the mastermind that we're going to have here in Austin in September for your birthday. So we're going to be celebrating your birthday and learning and everything here with the FI Investors Mastermind in September 7th through the 10th here in Austin, Texas. So bro, thank you very much for your time, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you, bro. Appreciate you.
Thank you for listening to the FI Investors Podcast. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. And share this with a fellow real estate investor who you think would find value in what we do. Until next time.